Have you ever wondered what sparked the most devastating global conflict in human history, World War II? Our story begins in the aftermath of the First World War. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in June of 1919, was intended to establish a framework for lasting peace. However, it instead sowed the seeds of a far more horrific conflict. The treaty imposed severe economic penalties on Germany, leaving the nation impoverished and its people disgruntled. In this climate of discontent, a charismatic figure emerged, Adolf Hitler. Hitler and his National Socialist German Workers' Party, commonly known as the Nazi Party, capitalized on the public's dissatisfaction. They promised a return to Germany's former glory and the reversal of the Versailles Treaty's punitive terms. Hitler's engaging speeches and the Nazi Party's propaganda machine found a receptive audience among the disheartened German populace, enabling their rise to power. By 1933, Hitler had become the Chancellor of Germany, and within a few short years, he transformed the democratic Weimar Republic into a totalitarian state. Hitler's regime, fueled by extreme nationalism and a virulent form of anti-Semitism, began to militarize the nation at an alarming rate, violating the Treaty of Versailles. The tipping point came in 1939. Ignoring international pleas for peace, Germany invaded Poland on the 1st of September. The attack was swift and brutal, marking the use of the Blitzkrieg or lightning war strategy for the first time. Despite the heroic resistance put up by the Polish forces, they were no match for the German onslaught. Britain and France, having pledged their support to Poland, declared war on Germany 2 days later. With this, what had started as a regional conflict escalated into World War II, a war that would span across continents and oceans. Poland's invasion marked the beginning of a conflict that would engulf the world for the next 6 years. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, a test of human resilience, and a chilling reminder of the horrors that unchecked power and aggression can unleash. As nations declared war, the world witnessed battles of unprecedented scale and intensity. Plunging into the heart of World War II, we find ourselves amidst the Battle of Britain. This was the first major campaign to be fought entirely by air forces. The German Luftwaffe sought to gain air superiority over the Royal Air Force with the aim of compelling Britain to negotiate peace or face invasion. Yet the indomitable spirit of the British people, coupled with innovative strategies and the courage of the RAF, turned the tide. The Battle of Britain became a symbol of national resistance, proving that the German war machine was not invincible. Moving east, we encounter Operation Barbarossa, the German invasion of the Soviet Union. This marked a significant shift in the war. Hitler's army, which had so far seemed unstoppable, met its match in the harsh Russian winter and the fierce resistance of the Red Army. Though the initial invasion caused tremendous damage, the Soviet Union's eventual counteroffensive marked a turning point in the Eastern Front, setting the stage for the long, grueling battle of attrition that would ultimately bleed Germany's resources dry. On the other side of the world, the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese in December 1941 jolted the United States out of its stance of neutrality. The devastating loss of life and property served as a wake-up call, leading to America's entry into the war. This infusion of resources and military might significantly tilted the scales in favor of the Allies. Each of these events, in their own way, shaped the course of World War II. They marked shifts in power, elicited unprecedented responses, and set the stage for the eventual downfall of the Axis powers. These events set the stage for a global conflict that would test the resolve and resilience of every nation involved. In the shadows of the war, humanity witnessed its darkest hour, the Holocaust. This was a time when the very essence of humanity was put to test, and unfortunately, it was found wanting. The Holocaust, a systematic, state-sponsored genocide led by Adolf Hitler's Nazi regime, saw the extermination of 6 million Jews, a number so large it's difficult to wrap our minds around it. Men, women, and children, all victims of an unparalleled act of hatred. But the Jews were not alone in their suffering. The Nazis also targeted other groups they deemed inferior or undesirable, including the Romani people, the disabled, Slavic peoples, and political dissidents. This was not just a war against nations, it was a war against humanity itself. While the Holocaust stands out for its sheer scale and systematic approach, it was sadly not the only instance of war crimes during this period. Across the globe, countless other atrocities were committed in the name of war. In Asia, the Japanese Imperial Army was responsible for horrific acts of violence, such as the Nanking Massacre, where hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians and disarmed soldiers were brutally murdered and tens of thousands of women were raped. In Eastern Europe, the Stalinist regime was inflicting its own brand of terror on the populace, with mass deportations, forced labor, and executions becoming all too common. These were not acts of war, but acts of terror, carried out not on battlefields but in streets, homes, and concentration camps. The scale and nature of these crimes were so extreme that they led to the establishment of new laws and tribunals in the post-war period, setting precedents for how we deal with war crimes today. But the scars they left are deep and enduring. These atrocities, a grim reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink in times of war, forever scarred our collective conscience. They serve as a stark warning that we must never allow such darkness to prevail again. We owe it to the victims, to ourselves, and to future generations to remember, to learn, and to act. As the Allies gained momentum, the Axis powers started to crumble, paving the way for the end of the war. One of the most pivotal moments in the road to victory was the D-Day invasion. On June 6, 1944, the largest seaborne invasion in history took place. Thousands of ships, aircraft, and paratroopers descended upon Normandy, France, in a daring assault that marked a major turning point in the war. It was the beginning of the end for the Axis powers as the Allied forces began to liberate Western Europe from the grip of Nazi control. The fall of Berlin, less than a year later, was a symbolic and strategic blow to the Axis powers. In April 1945, the Soviet Red Army surrounded the city, and after 2 weeks of fierce fighting, the German capital fell. Hitler's suicide in his bunker marked the end of the Third Reich, and with it, Nazi Germany's dreams of world domination. Yet the war was not over. The Pacific theater was still aflame, and Japan showed no signs of surrendering. In an attempt to end the war without a costly invasion, the United States made the fateful decision to drop 2 atomic bombs. The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were devastated, and the immense loss of life that resulted was a stark testament to the destructive power of nuclear weapons. These bombings marked a new era in warfare, highlighting the horrifying potential for mass destruction that humanity now held in its hands. They also signaled the end of World War II. Japan's formal surrender came on September 2, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri, bringing the 6-year-long global conflict to a close. World War II officially ended on September 2, 1945, leaving a world forever changed in its wake. The war had claimed millions of lives, reshaped the political map of the world, and left a legacy that continues to influence our world today. The end of World War II left a world in ruins, but it also set the stage for significant changes. The aftermath of this colossal conflict was as profound as the war itself, birthing new nations, redrawing borders, and reshaping the global political landscape. The first major shift was the creation of the United Nations in 1945. Born from the ashes of the failed League of Nations, this new body was designed to foster international cooperation and prevent future global conflicts. It was an ambitious attempt to unite the world in peace, a beacon of hope in a world scarred by war. However, this newfound unity was short-lived. The world was soon divided into 2 ideological camps. On one side stood the United States, the leader of the democratic capitalist world. On the other, the Soviet Union, the champion of communism. This ideological divide sparked the Cold War, a tense standoff that lasted for more than 4 decades. It was a war of words and ideas, of espionage and brinkmanship, rather than of bullets and bombs. At the same time, the end of World War II also marked the beginning of the decolonization process in Asia and Africa. The war had weakened the European colonial powers, and the flames of nationalism ignited across these continents. From India to Indonesia, from Ghana to Guinea, nations rose from the embers of colonial rule, claiming their rightful place on the world stage. The human cost of World War II was enormous, with over 70 million lives lost, cities reduced to rubble, and countless lives forever altered. but it also forced the world to confront the horrors of war and strive for a better, more peaceful future. World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, shaped our world in ways that still resonate today. It's a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of war and the enduring importance of peace.